When you break glass, it typically shatters into hundreds of tiny, razor-sharp pieces that can cut and seriously injure anyone unlucky enough to be near the breakage. But sometimes, the glass doesn't do this. Sometimes it just sorta stays together in one piece, or maybe breaks into larger chunks that are as dangerous. That might sound like a small difference, but it's actually huge. It can mean the difference between walking away from an accident with just a few scratches or losing an eye. And it turns out that one scientist's trash is another scientist's treasure. Because in 1908, a French scientist named Édouard Benedictus was having a pretty bad day. He had been working on a way to make transparent plastic from cellulose nitrate, which at the time was mostly used for photographic film. And he had finally gotten the process to work. But then he knocked over his jar of the stuff and it cracked. Now, normally, that would have been pretty annoying because the film wouldn't have held together very well. But when Benedictus picked up the broken jar, he noticed something strange. The cracks had sort of stopped in their tracks, as if the glass had somehow absorbed the impact of the fall. At first, he thought maybe he hadn't made the glass properly, so he repeated the experiment over and over again. But the results were the same! What was going on here? Well, it turned out that when the glass did break, it broke into a bunch of small pieces. But those pieces stayed stuck together in one piece, held by a thin film of cellulose nitrate. It wasn't particularly strong, but it was strong enough that it wouldn't immediately shatter. And while that probably seemed like a bit of a disappointment to Benedictus since he'd been trying to make a plastic, not a glass, it turned out to be an incredibly useful discovery. You see, glass is strong in compression, meaning that it can withstand a lot of force if it's squeezed together from all sides. But it's weak in tension, meaning that if you pull it apart from all sides, it won't take much force at all to break it. When regular glass breaks, it goes from being in compression to being in tension almost instantaneously. And that sudden shift is what causes it to shatter. But if you could find a way to counteract that shift, maybe you could make the glass safer. And in 1911, Benedictus figured out how. He found that if he put a very thin layer of a particular type of plastic on both sides of the glass, the plastic would absorb the force of the impact instead of the glass. Now, this plastic was still cellulose nitrate, but it was in a slightly different chemical configuration than the stuff he had put in the original film. So, it was a bit stronger? To make sure the plastic stuck to the glass, he heated the whole thing up afterwards, which sort of fused the two materials together. The result was so strong that he called it vitrolite, a combination of the words glass and the German word for light. But soon, the name was changed to safety glass, and it was put to use right away in the windows of airships, where even a small piece of broken glass could be disastrous. These days, safety glass is everywhere you look. Car windows are almost always made of it, as are the glass doors you see in places like subway stations. Even the glass on smartphones is tempered, though usually with a slightly less explosive material than cellulose nitrate. Basically, anytime there's a sheet of glass doing something important, keeping people safe, you can bet there's an even stronger sheet of tempered glass just behind it, ready to catch any stray rocks or baseballs. In fact, tempered glass has become so ubiquitous that we've probably all interacted with it without realizing it. A lot of buildings nowadays are constructed with what's called double or even triple pane glass. That is, they're made up of multiple layers of glass, separated by air gaps. Not only does this help insulate buildings from the outside temperature, but it also makes them much safer in the event that one of the panes gets broken. Since tempered glass holds together, even when it's shattered, you don't need to worry about flying glass everywhere. So, the next time you're looking through a window or grabbing a soda out of the fridge, take a moment to appreciate the humble origins of tempered glass, the safety glass that literally saved an eye-popping number of eyes. Speaking of things that seem fragile but aren't, check out this video where I drop a bowling ball on some balloons and they don't pop. Or watch this video where I freeze water and then bend it like it's not even real. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more awesome content. Catch you in the next one!